Okay. Okay. Cha. Let me share my screen. Hi, buddy. Good. Let me share my screen first. This is like a storytelling session, more or less. So, um, in case, it's been a while I took a class, like this. So my heart might still shiver sometimes. So just forgive me and enjoy as we go. Okay, yeah. So, hello, everybody. I I want to really start by, giving a huge shout out. This is like the first part of my slide. This is like the best part actually. I wanted to like give a huge shout out to like the best community well I've ever been in, right? And I can say I believe a lot of us here will like say the same thing. I think that it's a privilege and I don't know, I'm honored, right? Incidentally, I am taking the last master class for the year. I did not know. It's not like I planned it. I did not know. Miss Vic just put it on her status, and I was like, "Wow, really? That's really chill." Um, we are like family in this place. This is a line from our I don't know I don't know what to call it, but our major single or the single of drones. I don't know one particular song that one of us released. You should check it out. I hope someone can share the link in the chat section. But then we are like family in this space. I think that it's a huge privilege to be part of the road trip community. I do not take it for granted. And yeah, thank you all for being here. And I really do hope that at the end of this session, you gain as much as possible because then again, it's an important conversation to have. It's one that, um, as product designers, we do, but we don't have a name to it really. And even as human beings, we do, but we don't have a name to it. It's a topic or it's a conversation that is very relatable, and it's a conversation also that can is quite bigger, so that's ambiguous. Yeah. So let's go. Enough of the conversation. Follow me as we go. Yeah, prioritizing features and tasks for digital products. So if I'm to ask persons on the call, right, designers, that is product designers and UI designers, if I'm to ask what is the difference between product design and UI UX, the expected response is that product design focuses on user needs, while UI design focuses on user needs, while product design focuses on business needs. Well, that's not like a wrong response. In fact, it's a very true and honest response. Follow me, I'm not trying to cause diversity, don't worry. This is not a Twitter space. Okay, yeah, so why did I give you that difference? Well, the reason is to properly answer that question, it's something that you can actually, that is something that you have to experience. That is the actual answer is an experiential answer. It's not one that comes from head knowledge. That is, you can give all of these definitions, business needs and user needs, but it doesn't really answer the question. All right, I'm not here to answer because I'm just here to put some light. So going forward, the explanation, right, or the linkage between product design or design generally and prioritizing features, where it all makes sense is where we begin to talk about the kind of decisions that are made in our design journeys, right? In a product team, you are left to make tons of decisions daily for your users. A couple of or a lot of the decisions you make sometimes might not be right, sometimes might be right. But at the end of the day, you get to make decisions regardless of how high you are in the design ladder on your career ladder, whether as a junior designer or as a mid-level or senior level. So far you're in charge of designing products, you're making decisions that affect the lives of people generally. And it's important to have an understanding of how to prioritize tasks, features, and responsibilities, which would in turn help you to make better decisions for your users. So I've talked about prioritizing features, like I've just given a bit of an introduction. Now I want to teach properly. I want to define it. So prioritization, people say, is the process of determining the order in which tasks or features should be addressed. It is the compass that guides us through the maze. I'm smiling. I'm blushing actually. Oh yeah, it's the compass that guides us through the maze of options and helps us to allocate our limited resource where they will have the most significant impact. Just a lot of stories, but let me make it make sense. Um, we are we as human beings are in point, or we as human beings get to make or prioritize tasks for a day. For example, everyone here has a ton load of activities that are going to achieve in the coming week. Sunday night, a couple of us will sit down and write out the list of things we want to do over the week. And over the course of the week, we find out that these priorities change, or these things that we've listed out carry out some level of priorities. If two designers start designing now, it's expected that their priorities, or if two persons, right, if two siblings have 24 hours, expected that their priorities will differ. Now, as a product person, as a designer, or as a product manager for product managers that might be here, as a developer, and so on and so forth, so far you are part of the product team, prioritization is so important because then again, because of certain reasons, you cannot roll out everything you want to roll out. An example is Figma. You notice that Figma has like batches of updates. The question is, why didn't they just roll out all of their features at once? Why didn't they just release everything at once? Well, it's almost impossible because regardless of how much labor you have and time you have, there's always so much to do. And it's important to prioritize so you give out the best, or you give out what is actually needed by your users. So prioritization is a process of picking or selecting a particular feature or task in this our product conversation, depending on how important they are, or with respect to their importance. Without it, we risk wandering aimlessly and potentially failing to achieve our goals, both business and user goals. So we are not exactly saying we are focusing on business goals here or user goals. We are taking everything as a whole and trying to prioritize to meet those goals. So prioritization is just like the first part. There are frameworks that have been put together. Now, these frameworks are structures that experienced persons that are more experienced than me. Please, you see, I'm just talking, I'm just vibing actually. Um, if at any point you can't hear me or something, just unmute because I can't actually see my Google Meet screen. I'm just focusing on my slide. Yeah. Okay, so prioritization frameworks, right? As I said, there are structures that have been put to place by experienced persons that are way more experienced than I am, right? And these structures contain things like criteria that can help you and I prioritize better. So say you are in a situation where you have two things or a couple of things to do. These are frameworks that can help you prioritize one over the others. Another use case could be where, excuse me, another use case could be in a situation whereby you might want to you're looking for a life partner, right? There's a particular framework here that is advised, right? Or that marriage counselors give prospective or single persons to make use of. I think you'll figure it out once you get there. Another use case of prioritization frameworks could be a situation whereby you are working with a particular client and or a particular in a particular product team, and you need something to back your claims. You need something to properly explain or tell these persons that okay, we should do this over this, and this is a reason why we should do this over this, or this is a pathway to follow. So at times, in organ-centered scenarios, not even in organ-centered scenarios, in scenarios whereby you're trying to tell your team members that you should focus on authentication over dark mode, right? There could be argument, I know we should do dark mode first, and all of those conversations. Well, these frameworks are structures, right, that have been put together to help you, argue your points better, and to also help them argue their point against you. So there are loads of frameworks, but for the sake of this class, we would focus on just three of them. We don't have as much time. We're going to focus on three of them, and hopefully we learn as much as possible. Resources have been added at the end of the slide for further learning. So yeah, let's go. For our slide or for our class, we're going to make use of a case study, one interesting case study. I'm not going to call the name of the company. In fact, I had to use a dummy name. But we're going to use a case study and we're going to learn through it. So I would read a case study to him. Now, he reads that the Red app has decided, English, Jeremiah, calm down. The Red app has decided to undertake a solid redesign of their mobile banking application so as to improve customer satisfaction, thereby reducing the number of complaints from users about their experiences while making use of their applications. Now, we know Red App. I don't want to call their names. Red App is a popular brand in Nigeria with a very bad user interface. I'm not calling their names, but just take it like that. So during their brainstorming session, they came about with a list of features that they want to implement. The first is the basic banking functions, which includes like fund transfer, balance check. They also have customizable interfaces, basically that's dark mode. Then they have clear in-app notification, they have AI chatbot, multi-factor authentication, and finance management. So these are features that they want to implement. There are loads of other features, but these are the ones that they've actually listed out for us to work on. To put a bit of light, in case if you are maybe wondering how would this thing even make sense to you, um, there are some things that we've been doing. In fact, let me hold off on that till we get to that. I think it will just make more sense when we get there. Okay, so the first framework would be hierarchy of user needs. Now, there are, as users, right, we have different things that we want and we need at the part, different things that we want from a product, and there are different needs, right? Wants and needs are different. But as a user, there are certain things that, or there are different categories by which our needs can be differentiated into. Now, those categories in this context are pleasurable, usable, reliable, and functional. That is, a user need could either be pleasurable, usable, reliable, or functional. It's possible for it to cut across all of these like trajectory basically. So it's self-explanatory, so I'm not going to dwell so much on it. I will just go straight into figure so we can make a lot of sense. So I'm going to exit this and yeah, go to figure. Yep. Sorry, let me check the sorry, please, can you guys hear me? Help me, please. I need to confirm if you guys are following us all and if there's been any part that you missed out on. Can I get a feedback, please? Help this young man.
Please go on, Jeremiah.
All right, thank you.
We are with you.
All right, thank you again. Yeah, so the first hierarchy of user needs, which is one I'll be making use of or interestingly talking about. So when you're talking about hierarchy of user needs, there is one question that would really, really help you to go forward or prioritize better. The question is, will this feature make the product functional, reliable, usable, or pleasurable? If you look at the product you make use of, WhatsApp, Instagram, TikTok, your bank applications, you will notice that every of the features that there falls into one or both of these categories. It's either a feature makes a product functional, it makes it reliable, it makes it usable, or it makes it pleasurable to use. For a feature to be functional, it means that, or for a product to be functional rather, it means that the product is achieving the primary goal that it was set to achieve or was created to achieve. For it to be reliable, it means that when you compare that product to other products, it's more safe and secure. That is, it stands a lot, it's better when compared to other products. And in terms of usable, we're talking about the ease of use of a particular product. And finally, pleasurable. Well, pleasurable is the part where we'll talk about what makes you enjoy using the application or what makes you enjoy using the product. I mean, just like the little interactions that have been on my slide deck, it doesn't necessarily have so much of an impact in my slides, but then it just makes me be viewing my screen a lot more pleasurable. So the first feature that we have here, I will just talk through it because we don't have as much time. I'm also trying to focus on time. Yeah, the first feature we have here is the basic banking functions. If I'm to ask a generic question, what category would this feature fall under? Well, a lot of response can come in, but for me, I would say it falls under the basic banking function. So for me, I'm basically just going to move this into this part. This is more of a theoretical class than a practical class. Sorry about that. Yeah, so I'm moving it into the functional category. So the next feature will be customizable interfaces or dark mode. Well, I would most definitely say this makes the application pleasurable instead of functional. I'm categorizing it already. Then finance management, say it makes it usable. Then multi-factor authentication, say it makes it reliable. I mean, when you compare two products together and one product has just one way of logging into your application or signing into your application or getting access to your application, and another one has an extra layer of security. When you compare both products, especially in the context of a banking application, it's expected that you would want to stick with the one with an extra layer of security over the one with just one layer of security. Excuse me. So clear in-app notification, we can say it makes it usable, right? Because at times you might be making use of a product without the notifications, without the feedback mechanisms, the application will still work. But then again, with it in play, it makes the application easy to use. This is an arguable fact, so it's fine if you disagree. Now, AI chatbot, I will most definitely still want to put it in the usable section because this is my own personal bias. Now, as funny as it might look or as interesting as it might look, if you're in a product team and you guys get to have these conversations with yourself, you guys get to do this prioritization. Say the designer does his own prioritization, like he duplicates this particular template and he prioritizes the feature, same for the product managers and same for the engineers. One thing is certain, there will be some differences or a lot of differences because obviously bias will come into play here and how people see things will be different. So some persons might argue that finance management is, say, a reliable feature, right? Some persons might also argue that AI chatbot is a reliable feature, especially because of the advent of artificial intelligence in our world today. So these are arguments that could be made. Going back to our slide, which I have something I need to share. Important things to keep at heart for this particular framework. The first is the part of diverse characteristics. Now, a feature can fall into more than one class or category. A feature can be pleasurable and it can also make a product reliable. Some features in our products or some features in products that we build or we make use of, they when you compare them to other products or to other brands, right? They stand stronger. And apart from that aspect, they also make it pleasurable to use. That is, you enjoy using it. You're not you are you're not beating yourself, making it. It doesn't make the application boring. It makes it more interesting. Then there is the path of collaborative efforts, which means different teams or members prioritize separately after which conversations are had so as to align to their final picks. What we're really talking about here is the part where different teams go side by side or separately and prioritize and come back to have conversations. The real reason for prioritization is not just to arrive at an endpoint. The real reason for prioritization is to enhance conversation and communication between product teams. So if in your product team you're trying to agree on certain features, this is a framework that would allow you or that would enable you to have the kind of conversations that would help you to make a better decision. So with this particular framework, you're going to have proper conversation, you're going to have goal-driven conversations. Then the final one is team resolution. This method makes the team members ask relevant questions, like I said a couple of seconds ago, that tie a feature to the product goal. And finally, hierarchy comes first. Sometimes after all the process of prioritization, the decisions are left to like the orgas or the team leads in the product teams. At times, you might argue all your points, say this is the reason why we should do this over this, and at the end of the day, they're telling you, well, that's not true, or well, regardless of what you think, we are going to go in this direction. That is usually how most product teams, especially in the Nigerian space, works, even outside the Nigerian space. So it's not like I'm bantering my company, my country. Yeah, so we'll go to the next one, which is impact effort matrix, where this is another interesting framework that I've actually made use of. I made use of it in one of my recent projects. It's one that allows you to categorize features and tasks into four categories. The great category, which defines features that have maximum impact to the product. with minimum effort, and the good category, which means or which defines products that have maximum impact to the product with maximum effort. Then the okay category is one that defines product with minimum impact and minimum effort. And finally, the bad category, which most people usually run away from, is or are features that are defined in such a way whereby they have minimum impact. That is, to the product, they don't have as much impact. They will just take so much time to build, or take so much manual labor to build. Not labor like carrying concrete, but labor as a number of persons, or number of professionals basically. So how can we prioritize features in this context, in this particular metric or framework? Let's go back to FigJam. Sorry, excuse me. Yeah, let's go back to FigJam and see how it works. Now, this is a template that I created, not myself. I adopted it from a particular template, and I fine-tuned it to suit this class. So, yeah, the first feature, which is basic banking functions, e.g., funds transfer and balance. So earlier on in the conversation, I was going through a particular thought process. Then I said I was going to explain properly. There's something most of us do when we are sending out questionnaires, right? This question that we ask persons that will fill the questionnaires: which of these features do you think, or which of these features would you want? Well, that particular question is expected that the real reason why that question is being asked is not being used, or we don't actually do it. The real reason why that question is being asked is to define the impact of that feature to the product. So say you're sending out surveys and you're asking users to pick certain features or to rank certain features. Your reason is to define the impact of, or in some type of way, to define the impact of a particular feature. Now, if you ask them, okay, you want to create a banking application, and 10 persons out of 15 say, the one that they would want, regardless, is that they want to be able to send money and receive money. The rest are secondary. Well, you already know that the impact of that feature to the product to have will be really high, or will be expectedly high. So this part is purely but is bias based. It's not like these are pure facts. I just created them in my head so I can explain this. So after conversations with the product team, we've been able to define that one particular feature, or these particular features, have high impact, and these particular features have low impact. So the first step to do is to list out all of the features and define the impact of those features to the product. So we can say that one particular feature, the impact of it is pretty high. It's just high and low. There's really no mid-level in this context. There's really no average. It's just high and low. It's either it's high or low. So a feature could have a high impact or a low impact. So here I said my basic banking functions, right? The impact of this function is high, and the effort to create this particular feature is high as well. Now, because it falls, don't let me go to that part first. Slow down. Yeah, the impact is high and the effort is high. Then AI chatbot, I said it has a low impact, but the effort is high. This is just my mistake. This should be effort. Yeah, but low impact and high effort. Then customizable interface or dark modes, the impact is low and the effort is low in this context. Then also, in case if you cannot see my screen, let me zoom in better. Yeah, also multi-factor authentication, it has a high impact and low effort. I'm sorry about these mistakes. Then clear in-app notification, low impact and low effort. And finally, low finance management, low impact and high effort. So because, or during the conversation of our product and me being the team lead, we had this conversation and we arrived at this particular result. Now, the next thing to do is to create the pictorial representation of all of these conversations, which is what we have here. Now, this is a graph that has been drawn, one horizontal and one vertical. The vertical is one that runs from top to bottom, and the horizontal is one that runs from left to right. So on the right part, we have high effort, and on the left part, on the left quadrant, we have low effort. Now, on the top quadrant, we have high impact, and on the bottom quadrant, we have low impact. So every feature that has high impact and low effort would fall into this category. Every feature that has high impact and high effort will fall into this category. Every feature that has low effort and low impact will fall into this category. And every feature that has low impact and high effort will fall into this category, the category most product teams like to avoid. It's one that is really scary. Okay, so to play around, so for this kind of context, this feature has high impact and high effort. So I'm going to move this to this particular part here. Then low impact and high effort. I'm just going to move it. Low impact, low effort, right? Low impact, high impact, low effort. What am I doing? I'm lost already. Okay, sorry. High impact, low effort here. Then low effort, low impact, high effort. So where I'm coming to exactly is this conversation. Now, we've prioritized this, but really this is like not the end. Say you take this to the product team and you guys are supposed to talk about this in depth before you go for that, right? Some of the questions you'll be asking is what kind of or how much time would it take to work on this particular feature? In my current company, we call this scoping. Scoping is the point where we have conversations with the developers as well, and we ask questions like how difficult would it be to develop this feature or implement this feature, so we don't get to the point where developers are saying, I mean, you are designing something and we actually cannot implement it. Though that's mostly a lie. But then the true fact about that is that everything can be developed, but not everything takes the same time to develop. So some things actually get developed quickly, while some things takes more time to develop. Or some in another way, some things or some features would need more hands to develop, while some other features would just need just the intern to develop. Just like how we're saying, maybe it was the intern that implemented, or maybe designed and implemented the new WhatsApp update. Yeah, so really, in this kind of context, if we are going to have our conversations or have further conversations, you notice that features that fall into this bad category are features that usually would not have a lot of high priority. That's one way to put it. And also, these are features that do not really suit the goal of the product, or do not fall in line with the goal of the product, because the impact they have is not is it directly or inversely proportional to, but the impact they have is not on the same scale as the effort that is required, basically. So let me give some extra explanations to this financial dashboard. Yeah, so I'm coming. Important things to keep at heart. When you have multiple projects or initiatives to undertake, the impact effort matrix helps you to assess which project will deliver the most significant value, that is impact, relative to the effort required. Yes. So it aids in selecting projects. Removing that word project, we can say it aids in selecting features and tasks that aligns best with your strategy goals. The second thing is that it brings about a shared output. The output is a shared visual that aligns with mental models and we build a common ground. Now, earlier on, I said the impact is usually defined by the users, right? Or maybe I didn't say that. Excuse me. The impact is usually defined by the users. Now, different users obviously have different mental models, right? They think in different ways. A user who think that one particular feature has high impact over another feature. Now, because of this kind of question, right? Because of this kind of question and response, it can help you to understand your user's mental models better, and at the end of the day, come or bring all of your research and generate a particular solution that in some type of way might cater for all or for some of these mental models that you've considered. Then the next thing is that it's democratic. It's democratic in the sense that different aspects or different members of the product team, right, come together to brainstorm and take on this process. Now, in them coming together and brainstorm and taking on this process, they're expressing themselves. A developer can say, no, this thing will take longer time to implement, and it even require like 2-3%. But we as designers, we might not exactly really agree with them. I say, is it not just the sign up page? Is it not just the forgot password? I remember Victor Fathomi mentioning something one time on his status about a particular feature in Full Gap taking so much a time to implement. As funny as it might sound, that feature wasn't or looks like one that would not take as much time to design. But implementing it was taking so much a time. Then the final or the third one is quick and easy, can be done relatively quickly due to its simplicity. It's simple to understand. It's these frameworks are frameworks that you can even apply them in your day-to-day lives outside design, outside tech. So it's quick and easy to understand and it's very relatable as well. Then process improvement, it can be used to improve your processes. So apart from just tasks and features, you can use it to improve your processes. So you can define how impactful a particular process is. I remember one time in my company, we are trying to, to develop a product. It takes us longer a time. Because of a fine tuning of the process, we're able to cut down about 20% or 40% of the time we initially spent, thereby designing products and implementing it faster. So this is one that can help you to improve your process as well. The third framework is Moscow framework. Gradually rounding up. Then the third framework is Moscow framework. It stands for must have, should have, and won't have. This is the one that I said can be used by persons seeking marriage partners. Um, yeah, obviously there are things that I'm not here to give a marriage class, but there are things that you as a person want the other person to have. The person must have. The person should have. The person could have. There's supposed to be a could somewhere, and the person won't have. It's not just theory. So it's Moscow. M stands for must have. S stands for should have. C stands for could have, and W stands for won't have. So let's go back to our figure and make more sense of it. So Moscow prioritization. So in this context, in the product team, there are a couple of us say that there are 3 or 4 or 5, but I'm sure the other. That's just my own. I don't have makes the final decision. So this particular one, I would say it falls under the must have. It's an argument, right? Because if you look at the goal of the product, the goal of the product is the goal of the product, right? The goal of a banking application is for you to send money, receive money, and check your balance. If you actually look at it, that's the goal of a mobile banking solution. If a mobile banking application cannot do it, then it's expected that the problem or it's expected that the application, the product is futile. That is, it doesn't fit the user's needs, or it doesn't solve or answer to the user's needs. Now, in all of the frameworks I've also talked about, the goal of the product is super important. If the goal is not properly defined, there will be issues, or there will be a lot of back and forth, unnecessary back and forth, in prioritizing. Also, if all of the members of the product team do not understand the goal, are not on the same wavelength of the goal, what this framework would do is that it can help the product team. It can help everybody it can bring everybody to the same level playground. That is, it can help persons that do not understand to understand. So with this and with the conversations that will be had, people get to understand the goal of the product better. There are some of us that, like me, I would have to maybe read it, or have to maybe read not the actual design brief, but just read a particular message that maybe your boss or a client sends, read it over and over again for me to understand properly. Now, once I understand, there are some persons that it might take them so much time, even by reading. This is not about maybe mental models. This is more about how it is explained. With this particular prioritization, or with all of the prioritization frameworks I've talked about, by having these conversations, okay, what must the product have? What should it have? What could it have? What would it not have? People or members of the product team get to understand things better. So a must-have is the basic banking functions, e.g., funds transfer and balance check. Another one is should have, right? I don't know. Me, I don't think that is a should have, or all of those D&D people. But I'll just say it's a could have. Or it's a could have in this context. Please don't argue. Then clear up notification. I can say it's a should have. AI chatbot, it's a could have. Finance management. In this conversation, we can argue, but I'll just say it won't have, because then again, it might not just align with the primary goal of the application. The multi-factor authentication, say it's a should have. Now, must-haves are, this particular section of the must-have section is one that allows, is one that without it, the product will not work. It's just like the initial prioritization that we had, quite similar, but then they have their differences, like the functional part. So without it, the product does not suit or fit the primary goal that was setting. Now the should haves are, they might not necessarily, fit the product, fit the primary goal, but then they enhance the primary goal of the product. And then the could haves are, they are not even they might not even be part of the, or they might not fit into the primary goal of the product. But then again, they make the product easy to use in some type of way. And they don't fit into the product goal in any way whatsoever. So something to keep at heart. Don't worry, in the slides I have all of these things documented in case, if like those particular metrics. So important things to keep at heart. It is goal driven, as I said earlier on. Prioritization is goal driven. Not just this, all of the prioritization frameworks are goal driven. It's simple for teams. That is, teams that are looking for simplified approaches with a clear goal and with clear goals, English there, right? With clear goals and time box set. Then team communication. Prioritization generally enhances team communication, but for this one, it can serve as a clear and concise way to communicate priorities with clients or stakeholders. So if you are in a situation, there's one word there, something about scope creep or something. In a situation whereby you are working with a particular client and you want to exactly define the features you work on, right? They're having a conversation. You can easily align the most important features into the must haves, into the could have, and into the should have and could have, they won't have. So you can easily prioritize this, and it helps you to communicate better with your client or with your team leads or with the members of the product team. So you can tell the product team, you can present to them basically, okay, this is what I feel should be in the must haves, and this is the reason why it should fall into this particular category. Then the resource allocation, because this feature is almost not perfect, but it's almost leading to perfection. It helps you to allocate resources properly, right? And in a better way. So you already have an idea as to how much features will be needed to take on a particular project, right? In fact, this particular thing is one that cascades almost through all of the frameworks. And requirement gathering, in the early stages of of a project, when you're gathering requirements from stakeholders, Moscow prioritization can help you identify the priorities from various stakeholders. This ensures that you focus on addressing their most critical needs first. So once you've gotten feedback, because obviously before you go into the market to begin to talk to users, remember you are also trying to meet business needs rather. You're also trying to meet business needs. So then again, before you go into the market, you need to get requirements from, the team leads or the product owners. You need to get requirements, or you need to get particular documentation for you to properly understand and know what you want to do. Once you've gotten all of those requirements, this is one that helps you to allocate those requirements or those lists or those documentations that you might have gotten into certain segments. It can also put you on the right path to follow. So I'm almost done. Made a lot of progress, talked for a long time. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, then these are other prioritization frameworks that exist. There's like about 5 others. There are loads of others. What makes the frameworks interesting is that you do not actually need to follow what I've taught. You can fine tune it to your taste. They are malleable, right? They're malleable in the context that you can easily fine tune them. You can easily make them fit or suit what you want to do. You don't need to follow what I've done exactly. You can plot effort against impact. The main thing is just that the way you fine tune it has to fit the goal that you set for the particular product. And each of these products can be applied in almost every scenario. Though one of them, which is the high impact and the one that has to do with the impact and effort, is one that can be applied for processes as well. Conclusion. It closes everything and all of my shenanigans. So I've been explaining for like say like 40 minutes or so there or thereabout, and I've explained what prioritization is. It's important to also note or know that there are tools that people that have been created, right, to help you to prioritize better. FigJam is what I just used. Rec is another one. Squirrel, Pendo, Product Plan, and my favorite. Okay, I have two favorites. One is my piece of paper, right? Because as much as you can use a lot of digital tools to prioritize, once you can do it on a piece of paper, it's easy. You don't need to bother about creating shapes. By drawing lines and all of these things, you can easily prioritize. And the final one is Sprytho, a tool that will be launched very soon, hopefully. Human knows what is okay. Yeah, so thank you all for listening. It's been great having like this conversation. These are learning resources that I have attached to the slides. So when you get the slides, you get to read more about them. See, there's even one that talks about product prioritization frameworks for product managers. One another thing maybe to keep in mind, let me just add this, is that it's not really about the number of prioritization mechanisms you go through it. It's more about the conversations you have with your product team. Thank you for listening. I did introduce myself earlier on. My name is Jeremiah Folorunso. I'm a product designer. I'm a design instructor. Some of you might know me. I am JJ Folorunso, finance boy Jeremiah. Hit me with your questions. Yeah, let me stop sharing the screen. Sorry. Please, questions. Help me. Give me a moment. Let me take water, please. Just give me like 30 seconds. Hold on. Yeah. So, Zico, you raised your hand. Okay. I don't know. Zico, you raised your hands. Um, please just unmute and ask.
All right. Can you hear me well?
I can.
Okay. Thank you very much for this session. It's awesome. So I was going to ask, like, which of the framework do you think it's best suited for or has like fail proof? Yeah. But at the end you addressed it and said it's not about the method or the framework, the tool, but what works best for your product. So I also say something about fine-tuning the framework or the process to suit our goal or something. So my question is this: aren't there ways that people probably fine tune it or manipulate it into being biased for them? For example, as a product designer, if you are to maybe use a framework to prioritize the features or something to
Yeah.
present later to stakeholder, and you have your own personal bias, what if you use one of the two, or if the how do I put it? If the tool is spurious enough to allow you manipulate it to what you want to do.
Okay. Thank you so much for your question. As you asked it made me to remember something. Yeah, but I wrote something earlier on, which is, I'll just say it the way it is in my head. Initially, most or every product or every member of the product team can prioritize feature in the lenses of their own craft. So the way developers will prioritize features, they will prioritize it to suit. Come, let me share this screen. I want to do something. Yeah. There I count that. Okay, so developers will prioritize features in the sense or in the light of their own craft. How they will prioritize features? They'll prioritize features how they see things. How a designer will prioritize features would maybe not suit the developers really, if I'm being honest, right? Because in our heads, it's all the animations and all the placement of objects without even considering box models and all of these things. But then again, the fact that these particular frameworks are not frameworks that you do alone, that you do in isolation, right? These are frameworks that you do within a product team or within product conversations. Bias is welcome, but bias would everybody will share at the end of the day need to come to a final conclusion. So if you prioritize in your own mind to fit this particular or to fit a particular a particular framework, a particular way, a particular feature rather, sorry, if you prioritize to suit a particular feature, there's every tendency, right? There's every tendency that there's someone in the product team now ask you why. Why do you think this has more priority? Why do you think this has to fall into the must haves? Well, you have to give a proper or you have to give a concrete response most of the time. Well, because you think this or this. Now, someone else on the product team could ask you, okay, why not this over this? These questions are questions that poke holes in the biases that we have already set. So biases are very welcome here, but because you have this framework set in stone, there's every tendency that the holes that or the mindsets that we've had as either designers or developers, this there's every tendency that holes will be poked into it, and in some type of way, bias will be reduced for you guys to come to a conclusion. That helps, Zico.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
You are very welcome. Sorry, I can't see your screen. If you have a question, please raise your hand or mute and ask. I don't know, Miss V, can you hear maybe? Or anybody? Anybody here?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, all right, thank you. So I think that there are no questions. So I want to show something, one particular thing. But it's fine. Thank you all for listening. From my own end, it's been great doing this really genuinely. I'm so happy to have done this. And in light of the fact that I'm taking the last masterclass for the year, I would say see you guys next year. Talk soon. Bye.